everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in today for my special baseball show. It's a beautiful day here in Asheville, North Carolina. It's 52 degrees. I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. All my songs today will be off of these two CDs, the Baseball Ballads and the Baseball Ballads Volume 2, and there will be a new song as well. If you've been following me for the last few months, you may have heard that one. I am doing this for free today, as all my live streams are. There's never an admission charge, but this is my profession. This is not a hobby for me. This is how I make my living, and I've been completely shut down since March, so I'm relying on your generosity and thoughtfulness for tips. If you are so inclined, it's not required. You're just as welcome to watch if you can't afford to tip anything. But if you're interested, all of that information, all of the links are in the comments, the very beginning of the comments on Facebook and on YouTube. They will be in the comments and also in the chat window. Let's start off with a song called The Phenom. Cameras flash, even when he just plays catch. Way off down the third base line, fans have things for him to sign. Spotlight follows him around, same thing in every town. Journalists and TV crews, articles and interviews. Phenom in his senior year, not even old enough to drink a beer. Hit 100 on the radar gun, with a changeup that was 91. Even then he'd pack the stands with as many scouts as there were fans. Every pitch they charted and graphed, and he was the first pick of the draft. 30 million guaranteed, whether or not the kid ever succeeds. His teammates make $1,000 a month. Sometimes the Phenom picks up the tab for lunch. Oh, you can't blame him, it's not his fault. The team was willing to open the vault. No question that the kid can pitch. Someday he might make all of them rich. On this kid they bet the farm, 24-carat arm. Now every hiccup is a cause for alarm. You better not step on the foul line. You better rub your lucky charms. Phenom drives a luxury car along the road to being a star. And there's a guy in every neighborhood bar showing off his elbow scar. He can't miss, say the analysts. No one's ever seen anything like this. The dying man had one last wish. It was to live to see the Phenom pitch. Sometime around the end of May,
AA. And it was the same home or away. Rain or shine, night or day. Every game is a sellout crowd. The kid keeps getting the batters out. The talk show callers all say so. The Phenom's ready for the show. Yeah, the talk show callers all say so. The Phenom's ready for the show. I'll say so. The Phenom. Well, this next song is about a fellow who was probably the most unusual and fascinating character ever to play Major League Baseball. His name was Moe Berg. Now, Moe Berg played for about 15 years. He was a third-string catcher. And he became a coach, but what makes him so fascinating is that he graduated from Princeton. He had got a law degree from Columbia, never did practice law. He spoke 11 languages fluently, including Russian and Japanese, but it was said that he could not hit in any of them. Moe Berg became a spy. Now, he worked for the OSS, the forerunner to the CIA. And in the 1930s, an all-star team was sent to Japan. And probably because of the fact that Moe spoke Japanese, he was included in this team. And while there, he took photographs of the Tokyo skyline that were later instrumental in the Doolittle bombing raids. Now, I was invited a long time ago to sing at the induction ceremony for Moe Berg when he was inducted into the Jewish American Hall of Fame, and the ceremony was held at the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. And one of the other invited guests that day was the curator of the CIA museum. Now, Moe Berg's baseball card is on display at that museum, and I'm going to show you something here. That's a copy of one of his baseball cards. I'm not sure if that's the one that's hanging in the hall. And this woman, who was the curator of the CIA museum, brought along Moe Berg's application for employment with the OSS. And she showed it on an overhead projector. Now, years before this, when my aunt first heard the song, she told me that my great-uncle knew Moe Berg, but she didn't know how. My great-uncle had worked on the Manhattan Project. And when I was there looking at this application that she was projecting, when she got to the page where Moe Berg had to list 4 personal references, the third one down, Milton Kahn, is my great-uncle. So this is called Moe Berg the Song. Moe Berg the catcher, good fielding, no hit. Somehow he lasted 19 years till his knees made him quit. Never really played much, but never really cared. He was happy just to hang around with the uniform to wear. Moe Berg, Princeton graduate, went on to study law. Got his degree from Columbia, all the while playing ball. The Dodgers came a-calling. They were trying to sign a Jew that could help them sell some tickets in the Bronx and Yonkers too. Moe Berg, the professor of the bullpen, joked with pitchers, reading them the newspapers that he used to have delivered. He'd speak to them in Russian, Japanese, and French. He was the greatest scholar that ever rode the bench.
stars giving clinics for the fans. This was back in the 30s as the world prepared for war. Mo took a lot of pictures. Nobody knew what for. Moberg, the secret agent, never even told his mom of his mission to determine if the Germans had the bomb. Learned to speak good physics without hardly a lisp. He infiltrated lectures with the top German scientists. Moberg, the walking riddle, would put his fingers to his lips. If you recognized him on the street, he'd nod, whisper, shh. He kept a lot of secrets that no one will ever know. He knew lots of people, but nobody ever really knew Mo. Moberg, son of an immigrant, brought his father shame. All that education, and then he played the child's game. Mo made it to the majors, but his dad would never go see him. Mo's baseball card is on display at the CIA Museum. Moberg, the beloved, well, he had the gift of gab. He was a moocher, a celebrity who never paid the tab. He could get in at the ballpark on his lifetime player's pass and eat up in the press box. Someone always filled his glass. Long after he retired, there was still Moberg the myth, and he rode into the sunset, sadly hanging on to it, appearing on a game show as the mystery guest. Some say disappearing might be what Moberg did best.
Time for the third inning now. Max Patkin was known as the Clown Prince of baseball. And for 50 years, Max would go around doing one-night stands at minor league ballparks all over North America. There's a picture right there. Now, he did over 5,000 one-night stands, never failed to show up for a single one of them. And I wrote this song many years ago, and I sent it to my dad on a cassette tape. And my dad passed it on to a man named Angelo Cataldi, a on-air radio sports guy in Philadelphia. And Angelo liked it and invited Max Patkin onto his show the day that he was going to play the song. Max fell in love with the song. And my dad had his phone number at the house on the cassette. So fast forward a few weeks at least, and I was visiting Philadelphia. I was on my way to Ireland, and I was going to fly from Philadelphia, staying at my parents' house for just a few days. And my mother yells up from downstairs, "There's a phone call for me." Well, nobody knew I was there, and if anybody had known I was there, they wouldn't have known the phone number to call. So I asked who it was, and she shouted up, "Somebody named Max Patkin." So, of course, I was thrilled by this. I took the call, and Max told me how much he loved the song, and he invited me to come down the next day and meet him at the Municipal Courthouse downtown Philadelphia. He had been retired for maybe a year at this point. He was in his upper 70s, and he loved to go down to the courthouse and watch trials every day. It was just his thing. And so, of course, I took him up on his offer. We had a great time. There's a picture of the two of us that day. And 1 o'clock rolled around. Max asked if I wanted to watch a trial, so of course I could not say no. We went upstairs, we watched a double murder trial. Max was hawking his book to the people behind us, and his friend Hank, who was 85 years old, was sitting there rustling a newspaper. Then Hank fell asleep and started snoring, things that only Max and somebody
accompanying Max could get along with. It was hilarious. The amazing thing was, at the end of that day, Max told me he wanted to manage me. And he meant it. He wanted to try to help me get booked at minor league ballparks in the summertime to sing my baseball songs, which I thought would have been awesome. So we agreed when I got back to Ireland, I'd get in touch with him, and we'd try to put the wheels in motion. A couple days later, I flew to Ireland, and a couple days after that, my mom sent me an email telling me Max Patkin had just passed away. So the original title of this song was Going to Heaven, but I changed it right then to Gone to Heaven.
His uniform was baggy, and he had gigantic feet, and his hat was always cockeyed, and he had but a few teeth, and a snoz as big as Baltimore, and a heart as big as Devon. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven. Max Patkin, he was vaudeville, last of the old-time clowns, funniest looking fella that ever went from town to town, with a kind of face that he himself said only a mother could love. With his loosey-goosey limbs and his floppy leather glove, Max Patkin worked 3 innings. They'd let him coach first base. He'd call a meeting with the batter and then kiss him on the face. Then he'd do his chicken walk, then his geyser bit. He'd take a sip of soda, tilt his head back and spit. Max would leave him howling and be slumped upon a stool with his back against the locker, filling the whirlpool, dirtied up and sweaty, down to his stocking feet. He'd give the clubhouse boy $5 to scrape the mud off of his cleats. Oh, the clown prince of baseball, he did 5,000 gigs. For 50 years he shared the bill with circus dogs and talking pigs. And by the 9th inning, he'd be back to his motel with an early morning wake-up call. The next night he'd be someplace else. Oh, the towels in every motel room, they all smell like chlorine. From the rookie leagues to AAA, all points in between. And all those hotshot prospects, ever were big league bound. We saw them on the way up, some on the way back down. Oh, to be a clown these days, you've got to have thick skin, a flask in your back pocket, or a bottle of aspirin. The drunk sometimes will get you, or the team that did not win. It's tough to be a clown these days. You got to have thick skin. Oh, Max Patkin loved the children they loved him. His body would fall apart sometimes and he'd patch it up for them. And he never, ever, not even one time, sold an autograph. Funny man, Max Patkin. He made people laugh. But the times changed on Max Patkin. Along came rock and roll. They blare it from the speakers now if ever there's a lull. Some guy in a chicken suit circling the bases with a corporate logo on his back and in one or two other places. So if there's a St. Peter and he's sitting by the gate, he probably saw Max play sometime and wiped clean Max's slate. That corny old routine dated back to 1947. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven.
So, in case you have tuned in late today, I am doing this free of charge, as I do every week, but I do ask if you can afford it to take a look at the links at the beginning of the comments, and if you can afford to tip, that would be great. This is my sole means for making a living right now. Normally, I am a touring musician, but since March, I have not been able to do shows, and thanks to the generous ones out there, here I am today, alive and kicking, still going. So I'm grateful for all of the tips people have been sending. Thank you. I would love to know where you're watching from today, if you could put that in the comments. What else can I tell you? Let's see who's up next. Bonehead Merkle. In 1908, there was a game where Fred Merkle, who played for the Giants, New York Giants, was a base runner, and the winning hit was made, the winning run scored, and Fred Merkle, who had been on first base, never touched second. Instead, he ran straight for the clubhouse door, which was in the outfield wall, because the fans had already started to swarm the field, and he just wanted to get out of there. Well, I'm not going to give away the story, but resulted in quite a ruckus. And this is a 1908 Fred Merkle card. This is mine. It's the only old baseball card I've ever bought. Sometimes you just have to have something, right? I'll show you some other fun things later. So this is called Bonehead Merkle.
September 23rd, 1908. Cubs against the Giants. Giants at the plate. Bridwell came to bat. There were 2 outs, unto 1. It was the bottom of the 9th. In the infield it was drawn. 2 weeks left in the season. Classic pennant race. Giants had a 1-game lead and the Cubs were giving chase. Polo grounds were rocking. Score was tied at 1. Moose McCormick was on third base and he was the winning run. Which brings us to Fred Merkle, whose name would soon be cursed. He was the other runner, and he took his lead off first. Bridwell drilled a line drive out into right center. McCormick could have walked on home, and the Giants were the winners. Well, the Polo grounds erupted. Thousands rushed the field. The players all ran for their lives with their hands right on their field. Merkle was halfway to second by the time McCormick scored. But then Merkle made a beeline straight for the clubhouse door. The door to the clubhouse, it was in the outfield wall. Merkle never did touch second, and the Cubs retrieved the ball. Throw back to the infield reached the wrong couple of hands. Giants coach McGinnity threw the ball up in the stands, and after a long deliberation, the ump ruled Merkle out. It would take too long to clear the field of this unruly crowd. Since night games were unheard of then, it would soon be dark. He called the game a 1-1 tie and would have to sneak away from the park. Giants manager McGraw argued that this Rule 59 never was enforced. Why should it be this time? But only 2 weeks earlier, ran on all the wires. The same play happened to the Cubs and the very same umpire. But none of the New York papers deemed the story fit to print. So it was that thanks to them, their team was ignorant. But all throughout the baseball world and elsewhere, people knew it. Runner has to touch his base, and Merkle didn't do it. Matter was turned over to the baseball powers that be, who upheld the ump's decision. They ruled prophetically that if the season were to end, with the Cubs and Giants tied, they'd have to replay the Merkle game so first place could be decided. They replayed the Merkle game and fee-fi-fo-fum. The Giants were Merkle was the bum. Papers let him have it. Oh, they gave it to him good. They ran the kind of headlines only New York papers could. They dubbed him Bonehead Merkle. They made up Merkle words. One might pull a Merkle, and to Merkle became a verb. Some would yell, touch second, Bonehead, when he stood on first. Little kids yelled, moron, and the older kids much worse. Well, it haunted him his whole life. Till 43 years later, in front of 35,000 former Merkle haters, back there at the Polo Grounds for an old-timers game, there was a long-standing ovation when they announced Fred Merkle's name.
Well, ordinarily, this is my 25th weekly live stream. And one of the features of my weekly live streams is something I call Puck View. But since this is a baseball song show, today we have, oops, that's the wrong one. Yep, hang on a second here. There we go. Baseball View. And as you can see, there are a few All-Star Game baseballs, and the interesting one, though, is the upper left. It says it's an official ball from the 1994 World Series. There was no World Series in 1994 because of a players' strike. So thank you, Sandra Morrison, for that baseball. It's part of my collection. My dad and I meet down in spring training every year. And in fact, last year, I was already down there, and my dad was due to fly down the day before baseball got canceled. And or at least spring training got canceled. But we've been doing this for many years. And not too many years ago, I noticed this very short, elderly woman who all the players seemed to know. And I ended up getting into a conversation with her. Her name was Ruth Hartman Kramer, and she played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which was awesome to find out. And I saw her there a couple years in a row. She was nice enough to sign a baseball, but we hung out and chatted for a while. And unfortunately, she has since passed away. But my old friend Tim Wiles, who is the former director of research at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, many, many years ago suggested that I write a song about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And I finally got around to it in March because of the shutdown. I started thinking about the parallels between how things were during World War II when the men were overseas and the women's league was very popular back then. And I just had this thought, we really needed baseball. I needed baseball in March, and it wasn't there. So I wrote this song. It's called The Country Needed Baseball. And Tim Wiles, if you're listening, thank you for the suggestion. This is for you.
Baseball, the boys were overseas, fighting with the Germans and the Japanese. Just beyond the outfield, the flag blew in the breeze. The girls were wearing blouses with their skirts above the knees. baseball, and the girls were really good. The sounds were therapeutic of the cowhide meeting wood. They hustled and got dirty, skinned their elbows and their knees. For a couple precious hours, people's minds could be at ease. Baseball like you'd need a cigarette when you've gone too long without one, but you still can't have one yet. And your loved one's in the trenches with a gun and bayonet, and you're stuck there waiting tables at the corner luncheonette. Baseball to give itself a lift. Not every patriotic woman had to fill a factory shift. Some could hit a curveball, others could throw strikes. Some would run you over, or they'd cut you with their spikes. Baseball on Sunday afternoons. Stadiums would fill up, there'd be banners and balloons. There was Cracker Jack and peanuts, hot dogs, beer and coke. Just like when the boys played, it all tasted like cigar smoke. Yeah, the country needed baseball. Baseball. The country needed baseball. The country needed baseball.
So once again, all of the songs that I'm playing today, except for this last one you just heard, are from either of these two albums, the Baseball Ballads and the Baseball Ballads Volume 2. Let's see what's up now. Oh, okay. Well, here is a song that I have never once performed live. Many years ago, I was commissioned to write this song by a group of people from Chicago who were putting out an album of songs about the Chicago Cubs. It was called Take Me Out to a Cubs Game. And they wanted me to write a song to the legendary Cubs broadcaster Harry Carey, who had died a few years earlier. And they wanted this song to be a letter to Harry, basically updating him on the last 5 to 10 years. And so this is called Letter to Harry. And it is our 7th inning stretch. Excuse me.
I thought I might drop you a line. It's an afternoon game from the friendly confines. I got a radio up to my ear. WGN is coming in clear. Somebody else now is calling the pitch, leading the crowd in the 7th inning stretch. Sometimes he reminds me of you, just the odd moment or two. Every year, Harry, on the day that you died, when the local time is 5:30, wherever they are, from coast to coast, to you, Harry, Cubs fans will make a toast. Now put those funny glasses on. Thanks to you, everybody knows this song. All right, let me hear you sing it with me. strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
You have no idea how much it hurts to say Cubbies in there instead of Phillies.
Hey, Harry, since you've been gone, we let a few slip. World Series tickets yanked from our grip. We thirsted for champagne, the other team sprayed and canceled a couple October parades. That infamous foul ball was blown to shreds. Horsehide, cork, and a couple of threads. They served the remains in a curse-ending sauce that still had the taste of that heartbreaking loss. I hate to tell you, and you'll hate to hear, the team from the south side, they had one good year. They won a World Series, but what might be worse, the Red Sox have finally conquered their curse. Up north, when it's winter, there's less of a sting. When pitchers and catchers show up in the spring, and the poets are putting it all to verse, and the Cubbies are starting out tied for first. So give me a blue sky, give me a breeze, give me a brat or a burger with cheese. You might as well throw in a brew. Hey Harry, I'm hoisting this one for you. The voice on the radio next to my ear is trying to be heard over all the cheers. It might be, it could be, it is a home run. Holy cow, Harry, Cubs won, Cubs won. Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the crowd, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Mm-hmm. I'll show you a little picture of Harry. There he is, the legend. So this next song is one I wrote after one of those record-breaking home runs where the ball fetched more money than any of us could ever possibly imagine. And it got me thinking about how different things are today from when I was a kid. When I was little, that ball would have been the ultimate souvenir, and you'd have hung on to it, and you'd have passed it down to your own kids, and they'd have passed it down to their own kids. At least that's how we looked at things back then. We hadn't commercialized everything that could possibly be commercialized, and we didn't really attach this idea of making money off of our souvenirs. They were keepsakes. Well, I'll show you something. I have only ever bought one autograph in my life. I had to have this. This is a Bob Gibson ball, and I only had to pay $20 for it. But I had to have it. So, this is called The Guy Who Came Up with the Ball.
Flashbulbs were going off as the batter approached the plate. They had to replace the balls with ones they could authenticate. Well, everyone knew it was gone. One swing was all it took. The batter stood and admired it. The pitcher didn't even look. Now the guy who came up with the ball, the one on the bottom of the pile, he was missing a couple of teeth from his $1 million smile. He was sporting 2 black eyes. He was missing most of an ear. His shirt was torn and tattered, and his hair was soaked with beer. Going, gone, ought to make a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out of here. Security let him away. They pretty well saved his skin. There was a doctor in the house, put some stitches in his chin. And now the ball would pass the test under ultraviolet light. There was the asterisk. Well, that was the ball, all right. Now the guy who came up with the ball, he was famous for 3 or 4 days. Everyone wanted a piece of him, and everyone knew his face. Letterman wanted him on, and so did Oprah and Conan O'Brien. The White House receptionist phoned to say that the president was on the line. Going, gone, it ought to make a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out of here. The guy who came up with the ball, he heard from the IRS. They wanted their $500,000, not one penny less. Going once, going twice, sold, said the auctioneer. But who can really say what it's worth, except maybe the price of an ear? Now the guy who acquired the ball, he could not tell you which was which. A fastball from a changeup, no, he was just filthy rich. And his boy took it to school. His boy won show and tell. But the son of the guy who came up with the ball wished his dad didn't have to sell. Going, gone, it ought to make a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out of here. Going, gone. It should have made a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye.
So if you're tuning in late today, I would love to know where you're watching from. I'd like to also tell you a couple other things. If you're interested in picking up my recordings, the CDs are available at chuckbrodsky.com. If you're interested in digital downloads, you can go to bandcamp.com. And if you're interested in becoming my patron, which would be really awesome, there's information for that as well. All of these links are at the beginning of the comments. And if you missed that, you also can find them on the beginning screen of the live stream or at the very end screen. If you're interested in becoming my patron and you're not familiar with patreon.com, it's a fantastic platform where people can support artists on a monthly basis. And there are various tiers that most people have. I don't have tiers. Whatever amount you support me at will give you the same access as everybody else. And on my Patreon site, that's where I will post the very first versions of new songs. I'll share them with my patrons before I make them public. Maybe some rough drafts, backstories to some of the songs, cool photographs from my past. I do Zoom hangouts every so often with my patrons where they can request songs and we can chat. I try to offer as much as I can, and this monthly amount that comes in for me is just the slightest bit of security these days when everything is so iffy. So if you'll consider that, I'd be very grateful. And also, if you'll consider tipping today, any amount that would really help me. This is what I'm doing for a living these days until it's okay to tour again. And all of the links, as I mentioned, are in the comments at the very beginning of the show. On YouTube, they'll be both in the comments underneath the video and in the chat window. If you would like to follow me on Facebook and know when I'll be live streaming week to week, you can click on the little bell in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see it, a bell-shaped icon, and you can ask to be notified when I go live. I do this every Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern on Facebook and 4 o'clock Eastern on YouTube. This next song is about a very interesting baseball game that took place in the early 1920s in Wichita, Kansas. It was a game between an all-African-American team called the Monrovians versus a team of Ku Klux Klan members. Let me see if I can show you a little picture here. These are the Monrovians. This is called the Monrovians versus the Klan.
There was no place for a lady on a Sunday afternoon. 1925 on the 21st of June. It was 102 degrees, even hotter in the stands. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. No strangleholds, no razors, no horsewhips were allowed. They put a couple extra policemen in the crowd. Other violent instruments of argument were banned the day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Now the Klan was not too popular in Kansas at the time. They had already been exposed for their racketeering crimes, and in Wichita didn't seem to have a lot of fans the day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Only baseball would be on tap at Island Park that day, and the headline in the Beacon on the morning they would play. They were trying to head off trouble before the game began. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Now the umps were Irish Catholic, and they favored neither side. But out there on the field, the rules were evenly applied. That was a very good game of baseball, said the newspaper man, the day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. Now it was a seesaw battle, a pitcher's duel through 4. The Monrovians would break it open, 10-8 the score, and then drive off in jalopies and not those nice sedans. The all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan. The day the all-black Monrovians beat the Ku Klux Klan.
I have a couple of little tidbits here. I want to read to you. Did you know that there are 108 stitches on a baseball? And did you know that the average life of a Major League Baseball is 6 pitches before it's taken out of the game? Phyllis Diller once said, if it wasn't for baseball, most kids wouldn't know what a millionaire looks like. Here's a title from an actual movie in 1916. The Fable of the Kid Who Shifted His Ideals to Golf and Finally Became a Baseball Fan and Took the Only Known Cure. Imagine putting that up on the marquee. Did you know that the only person who is in both the Little League Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is Bruce Springsteen? And finally, Babe Ruth once ate 24 hot dogs in between games of a doubleheader. Oh, I missed a song here that I meant to do earlier, so I'm going to go back. This is a song that I suppose many of you out there have either read the book or seen the film The Natural. And this is the true story that that book and film were based on. And I'll show you a little picture here. It's about a player by the name of Eddie Waitkus and a woman who stalked him by the name of Ruth Ann Steinhagen. And this is a song that I have not sung live for at least 15 years. But it's called The Unnatural Shooting Death of Eddie Waitkus. But it's a lot better when it's in tune. So let me figure out which one of these strings here is not in tune. So you know that the first cup, athletic cup, was worn in 1873. The batting helmet was not invented until 1933. So it took men all those years to realize the brain is also important.
Steinhagen, who was an office typist, went to a baseball game at Wrigley Field with a couple of her girlfriends. It was innocent enough, with Ann's future, though that day would be revealed. Some girls she didn't know were yelling, "Hey you, funny face," to a player who was within shouting distance. There stood her Adonis in the form of Eddie Waitkus, who was blissfully unaware of her existence. It was April 27th, 1947. Ruth Ann blew a circuit in her brain. The 27th of every month would be the anniversary of the time she first saw Eddie Waitkus play. Every Saturday and Sunday, she'd ride the L to Wrigley, sit halfway up the line behind first base, 'cause that was his position, and those were the closest seats where she could have the best view of his face. Ruth Ann collected articles and photographs of Eddie. She slept with pictures of him in her head. She learned some Lithuanian to better understand his roots, made a shrine to him beside her bed. Ruth Ann's world was shattered the day Eddie was traded to Philadelphia, and for many days she cried. She wrote him letters often, she phoned and left him messages, but never once did she get a reply. On the north side of Chicago, the Edgewater Beach Hotel. When the Phillies came to town, that's where they stayed. Ruth Ann made a reservation a month ahead of time, and on her calendar she ticked off every day. A room service daiquiri and a couple of whiskey sours, all three of which she nervously consumed. While waiting up for Eddie, who was out late having dinner after starring in the game that afternoon. Ruth Ann bribed a bellhop to leave a note for Eddie, urging him to come up to her room. 1297A. Van wrote on hotel stationery that had the faintest trace of her perfume. It's extremely important I see you as soon as possible. It would be to your advantage to let me explain. But it was very nearly midnight and the Phillies had a curfew. Eddie just kept staring at the name. 'Cause Ruth Ann was the same name as the woman Eddie dated. But what on earth would she be doing in town? She surely would have phoned first before coming to Chicago. Eddie called the elevator down. A tall girl answered the door, said Ruth Ann stepped out for a moment. Eddie sat down by the window in a chair. Ruth Ann said, I've got a surprise for you, and it was a pawn shop rifle. Eddie said, baby, what have you got there? Baby, why'd you do it? Cried a bleeding Eddie Wakus, and over him a lifeless Ruth Ann stood. Well, you've been bothering me for 2 years, Ruth Ann said to Eddie, and if I couldn't have you then, nobody could. Desk clerk to say she had shot Eddie. That's probably why he didn't bleed to death. Baby, why'd you do it? He kept calling from the stretcher, struggling for every precious breath. Ruth Ann spent 3 years in a mental institution. They set her free when they said she was cured. And after 4 operations, Eddie Waitkus did recover. At least you see his name in all the old box scores. But Eddie took to drinking, and he turned into an angry man. There were lots of rumors. People often wondered just how well he knew that crazy starstruck fan.
So we've been through 9 innings. I'm going to give you an extra inning here. And once again, thank you very much for tuning in today. These are the 2 albums that all but one song I've sung today are off of. And I do hope to be making Volume 3 sometime in 2021. I have to show you something funny here. This song is a bit of a spoof, and it came to be because of this Facebook post that my Facebook friend Jerry Grillo made. One day, he made up this character named Splinter Cheeks Johnson, and he said that he held the record for most games not consecutively not played in. the greatest bench warmer of all time. Well, you know what happened. I looked at that and I said, that should be a song. And so, this is a song called Splinter Cheeks Johnson. So I'll be back next Sunday with a regular show. All of my regular shows do include at least a baseball song or two. Another thing you might be interested in is all of my shows are archived on my YouTube channel, including the first baseball show that I did on July 8th. And so it should be easy to find. I was wearing a baseball jersey. Also, the set lists for each show are in the comments below the video window. So if you're ever looking to find a particular song of mine, it's a pretty easy way to do. But there are 24 archive shows, and this one will make 25. So I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you will all stay well and healthy and happy. I wish you all very happy holidays. Play ball.
You could count on Splinter Cheeks Johnson to cheer, a utility player for his whole career. He ate sunflower seeds and he chewed bubble gum, and he made sure to save all the other guys some. He'd put his uniform on every day. He sat in the dugout and shouted, hooray. He would sign autographs after the game. Nobody ever had heard of the name. 1,100 plus 52 consecutive games. All the bubbles he blew, not one single inning did he ever play. He worked hard to keep himself out of the way. They won a World Series, well, he got his ring. He got sprayed with champagne, it was the craziest thing. He got to ride in the next day's parade. A full share of the World Series pot he was paid. Well, now in case you might wonder, and most people would, they kept him around because he was good. He would always move over with excellent form. The spot that he vacated always was warm. Now one time Splinter Cheeks was sent out on deck. Streak on the line, his nerves were a wreck. But the batter ahead of him made the last out. Way to go, Splinter Cheeks! Nobody shouted. Johnson was always prepared, quick to react if trouble should flare. He was always willing to take one for the team from a secret stash of hemorrhoid cream. But Splinter Cheeks Johnson's body wore out. It was sad to see, but there was no doubt about it. Start to lose steam by the top of the fifth. His eyelids got heavy and his posture would drift. And one time Splinter Cheeks was taking a nap. He covered his eyes with the bill of his cap. A murderous foul ball bounced off his head. They carried him out. Splinter Cheeks, he was dead. Splinter Cheeks Johnson, baseball card set, and nickel is probably the most you could get. He had no statistics to put on the backs, not even any interesting facts. Yeah, you could count on Splinter Cheeks Johnson to cheer, a utility player for his whole career. He ate sunflower seeds and he chewed bubble gum, and he made sure to save all the other guys some.
Be well, everybody. Thank you one more time for tuning in. Hope to see you next week. All the best.